Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's sidebar session with the Sweet Tea Gems. I'm just going to give it a second while we double check our stream and go from there.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. Hmm. I don't quite see us just yet. Do you, Mom?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Hold on, people.
I see us live on YouTube. Hi, YouTube family. Let us know if you can see us if you're out there watching on YouTube. Definitely give us a heart in the chat. Okay. Hmm.
Tell you, the world of technology is great, but when it doesn't want to work,
I
oh,
know. I know.
okay, let me reply to Tracy.
If you're on Facebook. Hmm. Up. It just popped up.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Okay. I think we are cooking with gas. And let me turn this off. Okay, yeah.
Can Tracy
She
see us
will be
now?
in 2 seconds. Let me.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey! Yay!
All right. So we really are here for tonight's episode of Sidebar Sessions with
Oh, me! Sweet Tea Teresa. Hey!
and her sweet pea, Chaffron. And tonight we're actually going to be talking about a very timely topic. Y'all know that March is Women's History Month, and we are dedicating this show to a very woman centric issue of fibroids. I've gone through it, Mom has gone through it, and we know that a lot of you guys out there have also gone through or know somebody who's been challenged with fibroids in the past or may experience it down the line. So you don't want to miss this sidebar session. And I encourage you, as you hop on and you watch, do share this show with somebody you love. On a
Yes,
lighter note,
yes.
while I do some sharing on this end, Mom, what are you drinking today?
What tea?
What
Sweet
kind of
tea.
sweet tea, Mom?
Well, you know my favorite tea. You know what? Now, let me see. Okay. My favorite tea is Lipton, but this was on sale, okay? And we know what inflation is, right? Okay, so this is Tetley tea. Not bad though, not bad. Because I really am kind of a tea snob, tell you the truth. I really am. But I will tell you my top three. And especially for iced tea. Now this is specifically for iced tea. Lipton is number one. Um, Community, and then Italy. So I will take those three. But for hot tea, it can be the gamut. I can go from your Earl Greys to your uh, vanilla, is it Kai or chai, vanilla chai, to your green tea, to your hibiscus tea, to just give me, okay, anybody want to bless me, okay? Give me a gift basket with just a tons of individual tea bag packs now, because that's how I drink my hot tea. I haven't gotten into loose leaves yet, but I am. I'm gonna get one of those little. I don't even know what you call them. You know what I'm talking about, Shron? You put the tea
The
in there,
kind that
and
you actually have to go in and steep, the ones that you have to do all the work for.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna move up to that. But anyway, long story short, you didn't ask all that, but that's what you got.
Well, I really did go kind of the cheap route on my sweet tea today. This is sweet tea and it is iced, but
Well, what
it's
kind?
Lipton in the Keurig.
Oh, see, no, 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 no. I have tried that. It is not fresh brewed. Now that's where I don't compromise.
It's not
Okay.
bad, huh?
No, I'm just looking at the comments. Someone says we're breaking up,
Okay.
so I was like,
Mom, okay, I see that I have all the bars and mom has all the bars too.
it's probably just periodic.
Yeah.
We'll keep going. Okay, but anyway,
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get into our show. If you are new and just hopping on, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here tonight for a very special sidebar session on overcoming fibroids. So if you are just joining, you guys drop a heart. If you can find one in your emojis, drop us a heart emoji and let us know that you are here because we want this to be very, very interactive tonight. We're going to tell our stories and talk to each other, but we definitely want to hear from you too. So let's just go ahead and get into it. If you're not familiar with uterine fibroids, they're actually the most common type of growth or tumor found in women. Okay. And we want to talk about what they are, the symptoms, how we were diagnosed with them, our challenges, and what ultimately led to our treatment. So, let's see. What are fibroids? Fibroids are non cancerous growths made of smooth muscle cells and fibrous tissue in the uterus. So, that's what they are. And we've got a lovely photo here of kind of what they would look like if you saw them like on an ultrasound in a cross section. In terms of like the size of them, they can be as small as a grain of rice or as big as a melon. I've met many women who have had them as big as grapefruits. So they can be really, really tiny or really, really big. And in terms of symptoms, heavy or prolonged periods, bleeding between periods, abdominal discomfort and or fullness. You can have pelvic pain, lower back pain, bladder symptoms such as frequent urination or difficulty emptying the bladder, bowel symptoms such as constipation or excessive straining with bowel movements, or also, wrong slide. Here we go. You could also potentially see fibroids presenting with complications during pregnancy and pain during intercourse. So that's really a litany of different possible symptoms that you could see if you were diagnosed or if you had developed uterine fibroids. And in terms of just some quick statistics, between 20 and up to 80% of women will develop them by the time they are age 50. And so that aligns with the number of women that we've talked to personally and know that have had them. But it's also important to us to point out that there is a much higher chance of them developing in Black women. African American women, I think the statistic is that 50% of us will develop uterine fibroids by the age of 35, and closer to 80%, that 80% on the spectrum, by the age of 50, as opposed to, I believe it was 25% for white women and 70% by 50. So, some staggering statistics in terms of the commonality of fibroids. But one of the reasons we wanted to talk about it today is that we noticed, even just in our experiences with navigating medicine, like navigating healthcare and all of these different things, we know people have them, but nobody was really talking about it. Mom, you want to chime in?
Yes, I definitely agree. Like, know a lot of women that had them or have them or were going through, those symptoms or what have you, but nobody was really talking about it. Like, for myself, I know I had lots of
Mm-hmm.
aunts, especially on my dad's side, that had them, but, they never talked about them. And so, it was like a foreign thing, especially when it started happening to me.
Definitely. So, again, as we're talking, we're going to be bouncing questions back and forth, popping some on the screen. Y'all feel free to chime in, talk to us about your experience, ask questions. If it's something we can tell you from our experience, we absolutely will. Um, yeah, and let's go from there. So, mother dearest,
Yes.
when was your first menstrual cycle?
Oh, I was about 9 or 10. And I'm trying to think, about the circumstances around when it happened and everything. But I do remember something before that. Uh, the way mom told me about it, back then they had these
Mm,
kits and they were about Kotex. I don't know if anybody remembers, but I'm old. Kotex was the brand of Mama says nine. Okay, thank you, mom. Kotex was the brand of sanitary napkins that we used back then. I think that was all we had, and because tampons and everything else came a little later. But anyway, they had this kit and it had like 3 or 4 little books in there, and it told you about your menstrual cycle and your body and everything that was going to happen to you and all of that. And mom gave me that kit. Now, being a reader, I read every single one of them because I love to read. So that's how I kind of got educated about what was getting ready to happen at some point. So, but I'm still trying to remember. I don't remember. I just, remember it was, like mom said, 9, but I don't remember when it happened. I don't know if I was in school. I don't know if I was at home. I don't remember. I really don't, to tell you the truth. I just don't remember.
but you just know it obviously happened.
Yes, of course. Yes. So, to answer the question, yes, I was young. I'm 9 years old.
Yes, yes. Same here. Same here. I was 9. And I feel like one thing that you did really well, mom, is like prepare me for that moment. Like you started dropping little pebbles and morsels of information that was appropriate for, me at whatever stage
Mm-hmm.
I was. You started explaining that stuff to
Mm-hmm.
me early. So I felt like I knew
Mm-hmm.
that it was coming, sort of, but it
Mm-hmm.
was the worst
Yeah.
possible
I know.
circumstances. And I explained this
Uh,
in my latest
yes.
YouTube video. I was at a sleepover. I think it was my very
Mm,
first sleepover. I was 9 years old,
mm,
and it's like, I know what's happening, but who do I tell? What do I actually do about this?
do.
It was not
Yeah.
fun. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it's those are interesting stories. Every woman's first menstrual cycle. Where were you? What, how old were you? What did you do? How did it happen? All that kind of stuff. Because, it's so you just get so many different stories. Some girls were caught totally
Yeah.
off guard. They didn't know what was happening. They're screaming and hollering, I'm bleeding, and something is wrong. Yeah. So yeah, it's very, very interesting.
And it's important. I
Yes.
brought this question up. We brought this question up because talking about reproductive issues and things like that really does start early. I feel like it's a topic that we tend to avoid when, girls are girls. It's awkward. No one really wants to talk about it and kind of face it. And mom, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more. Um,
Mhm.
it's not it's not necessarily fodder for the dinner table, and it's like
Yeah, you're right, right. It's like it's a natural process, and we know, every woman, every girl is gonna go through it. But for some reason we don't talk about it. And I think even back to kind of we were discussing, pre-show yesterday, biblical days. Menstrual cycles for women, during that time, they were considered
mhm,
unclean and then had to be kept, ostracized or isolated during their cycle. So, you get that kind of stigma way from the beginning. And that kind of leads to, our taboo subjects or topics that we talk about, even though it is normal. It's abnormal if you don't
mhm,
have one, if something were to happen. So, you know, yeah, yeah. Um, look, yeah, good, yeah, good topic. And then to go on with that, like I said, mom did a pretty good job. And for the times, I understand, times every generation is different. Like I said, she did give me the kit, and knowing what type of child I was, like I said, I
mhm,
was a reader. So she pretty much knew that I was going, devour the information, and it did. It prepared me. I knew what was going on. So however, that's a good thing, but I'm thinking, however you relate to your child and you know that they can get that information, you somehow, the mom needs to talk, or I say a female in
mhm,
her life needs to talk to her about feminine health early, because it's going to happen. And the thing is, you don't know
mm-mm,
when. You don't know if your child is going to have her menstrual cycle early, or is it going to be later on. She's 13, 14, which happens. So you got to prepare her start around talking 7 and 8
mhm,
ish. You think that's young, but it's not when both of us had it at
mm-mm.
9. So if we hadn't been talked to, or it can be a scary thing. All of a sudden, you just bleeding out of nowhere, and then you could be cramping and hurting, and you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
very important to talk.
Definitely. And while you guys are watching, did your mothers talk to you about feminine health, or some lady in your life prepare you for that? I'm curious to know what you all's experience is with that. But you are so
Yeah,
right
and
about
also,
talking about that thing early and making it normal, because I remember
mhm,
being in school if you had to get up and go to the bathroom, to like change your pads or anything like that, we've all stuck a tampon or a pad down in our belt or done whatever we needed to do to conceal what was going on. God forbid you had a male teacher and you had to try to explain why you had to go to the bathroom or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why must we be so shy and shamed and bashful about something we go through every single month? This is going to happen to you 12 times a year for 20, 30, maybe 40 years. And you have to be ashamed of it or not feel comfortable asking questions, which kind of plays into our topic today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and just not
Mm-hmm.
be aware of what's normal and what's not.
That's not normal.
Yeah,
I'd also like the audience to answer that first question if they feel like it. When was their first menstrual cycle? What age were they? It's just interesting.
definitely. Definitely. So, in terms of that, we both had our cycles early, and I'll let you get into your story. Tell
Mhm.
me about the experience leading up to you being diagnosed with fibroids.
Well, I was young. I had just had you, and so it was maybe two. I say just you were maybe about two, so that made me about 25. But leading up to that, that's obviously too that um I had these fibroids for a while and did not know it. And going, to get my annuals and everything, nothing was detected or anything like that. And I didn't begin to have problems until I guess closer to the time that I had to have surgery. So, you know, just started out with that heavy bleeding and then prolonged
Mm,
periods. I had a normal 5-day cycle, clockwork. Five turned into six, then seven, then eight,
mhm,
then nine, then 10, then 12. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. Something's wrong. It's and this went on for months. But something's wrong, but you don't know
yeah.
what it is. And because back to, what we were talking about, no one had talked about fibroids. And I didn't know, what was going on. And so I didn't even know what questions to ask the
Mhm.
doctors. So that's another thing. Probably could have been detected earlier, but I didn't know, what was going on or what questions to ask. So I I went to the doctor and I was bleeding at that time. And I remember the doctor saying, oh, you're bleeding now. And I'm like, duh, really? This has been happening for quite a while. Okay. Thank you. And so I don't know if they recommended surgery then or not, but I got a second opinion because I was like, you're not telling me enough. So I knew enough to do
Mhm.
that. And I got a second opinion. And sure enough, that doctor said, yeah, we need to remove
Mm.
these. And because, we definitely wanted to have more children or what have you, went in and had the myomectomy. And mine was the size of a
Mm.
grapefruit. It was big. And so that was kind of my journey up to that point.
So, remind me, if you didn't already
Mhm.
mention this, how old were you when this happened?
25.
25. How old were you when you started having symptoms?
Mm. Probably 21.
And that goes back to the importance of beginning to talk about these kinds of things earlier, because the gap between you
Mhm.
having your first menses and you having fibroid symptoms was not that long.
This is very true. This is very true. So, that's why I say you don't, I had those fibroids could have been, there a long time, just
Mhm.
small, but growing. They obviously were. They didn't just become a grapefruit, you know, overnight. And so, yeah, that's the importance of discussion, talking, information, knowing what's going on with your body, and getting doctors to listen to you. And medicine and everything has come a long way. It still has a long
Mhm.
way to go, but it's better now than it was. Hey, I'm 58 and 25, so we talking almost 30 years ago. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Not almost, more than 30 years. Oh my goodness. Oh my, you don't know. No, I'm so refined.
Season.
Um, but now I can, I can keep going, but you can ask more questions in the
I
midst of
want
that.
to hit on some of these comments. They're answering your question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Grams, our crown jewel, says 9.
Mm,
Tracy said 11, started at school and didn't know what was going on.
mm-hmm.
Think that's Miss Evelyn. Hey,
That's
Miss
Miss Evelyn.
Evelyn, 16.
16.
16.
Wow. Now see, that's
Yeah, yeah,
different.
you've got the gamut of different experiences. Y'all, thank you for sharing uh, that fateful day with us.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, yes, definitely want to definitely talk about, or really point out that you were young and that problem probably had been brewing a good little while.
For a long while.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I didn't have any symptoms until,
Mm.
later. And then I guess that's another thing too, if you're not, they're there and they're not causing any problems or
Mhm.
anything. And, there were no ultrasounds done or anything at annuals or what, for whatever reason, then you don't know. You
Mhm.
don't know until they are a problem.
Definitely. Definitely. I know with me, here I am. I'm actually at this point 7 weeks post surgery for
Hmm.
mine. And who
Hmm.
knows when they actually started popping up, but I always had issues with my menstrual cycle. Always. Of
Hmm.
course, most people's is a little bit irregular because your body's trying to figure out what in the world is going on. We don't know what to do
It's,
with this
yeah,
type deal.
yeah.
But over time, like when I was in high school, you probably remember that I would get really, really
Oh
sick,
yeah.
like
Sick. Yeah.
vomiting
Yeah.
sick
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
mine in terms of, cramps, nausea, the gamut of those
Hmm.
symptoms.
Hmm.
And those are
Hmm.
things that you warned me about, that they were a
Yeah.
possibility. So I just never thought anything, I guess, of them as I got older. And I
Hmm.
started going to see my gynecologist. We recommend everybody get one and make sure you stay on your screenings. Just PSA.
Hmm.
But I knew I was, having some problems to the point where it was interfering with my ability to go to class in college and be lucid enough to actually take anything in. And so the
Hmm.
recommendation was to control the symptoms was birth control. And who knows whether or
Hmm.
not the estrogen in those pills escalated the issue. It is quite possible.
Hmm.
It is highly possible.
Hmm. Highly
But
possible.
I was on those for a while and then I hopped off of them, and everything was kind of leveling out in my early 20s. But by my late 20s, I began to have problems again. And what I noticed in retrospect, the answer was always, let's try another pill. Let's that one's
Mm-hmm.
not working. Let's do this one. It would always be okay
Mm-hmm.
for a while when I was on them, and then I would get breakthrough bleeding. And we do have a
Mm-hmm.
comment here. I was about 20 when mine was first spotted, but did nothing until I was in my late 30s. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
So I would have the breakthrough bleeding between my periods, and they would say, let's try this pill, let's try that pill. That one's not working. I'm trying to even think there's at least four or five of them that they tried on me.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody said, I feel like I had to bring up my family history to get them to actually
Mm-hmm.
say, you might have fibroids. Let's take a look at it, or let's, see if there's something bigger here besides let's just try another pill. So,
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
down to my late 30s, and I tell the story. I was on a conference call. I was chairing a conference call that probably had 30, 40 people on it. And I just instantly got the worst cramp of my life, and was
Mm-hmm.
ended up taking that call on my office floor in a pool of my own blood. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. And so the next
Mm-hmm.
day, I went to my doctor at the time and told her what was going on. They swapped my pill and sent me off for an ultrasound. And that was the first time they saw my fibroids. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um they saw them, and my doctor wasn't terribly concerned. And he all
Mm-hmm.
but, told me that if they were in a certain place, there was nothing that could be done about them. Just watch and wait, watch and wait. And sure
Mm-hmm.
enough, by the time I changed to another doctor that had come highly recommended, they did another ultrasound on me because I described my symptoms and was telling them that I was having breakthrough bleeding on the new pill. And she felt my abdomen, as they do during annual, and it
Mm-hmm.
was puffed up, it
Mm-hmm.
was swollen and enlarged, right? And they sent me off for the
Mm-hmm.
ultrasound, and there were 3 that they could measure at the time and could see.
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
was the size of a plum, and then there were 2 that were the size each of a strawberry. Now, granted, for context, your uterus is only about the size of a fist. So
Mm-hmm.
if you've got an 11 centimeter uterus and 10 centimeters of fibroids, you got a problem. If you got a grapefruit sitting inside of this, that's a problem. That's a
It's a
big
big problem.
problem. So, yeah, and they couldn't even see the lining of my uterus in that ultrasound because it was obstructed. So, who knows? I found out later. I found out later how many were in there. But that's how I got to my diagnosis and led up to actually getting it treated.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that is a lot of women's story, getting having to go to different doctors before you're actually heard or taken seriously or diagnosed
Mhm.
properly. And I continue to think about that because there's part two of my journey. Um After, I had you and then got diagnosed and then had the myomectomy. Um had Cameron 4 years later. Then about hmm, maybe 3 or 4 years, about 4 years after that, symptoms started
Mm.
coming again. So, I'm getting the longer periods, the heavier bleeding, and I'm clotting, wearing tampons and double pads, having to wake up through the middle of the night because it's just running down my leg. Then, got to the point where abdomen, like you say, is swollen, but mine got to a point where it was just hard and so protruding that I couldn't zip up my clothes. I couldn't, it had gotten pretty bad. And the day I think about you talking about your work
Mm-hmm.
day, the day similar happened to me at work. And I'm physically in an office. And all of a sudden, just, and I have to get in the car, go to Walmart to get some more underwear because I've messed up everything. So, it's a debilitating thing. It really is. So at that point, like you did, next day I'm like, okay, gotta go somewhere. So I go and I think I go to one, I end up going to two doctors as well. I go to the first doctor and they say, yeah, something. I don't really know what they said, but it wasn't what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to hear. Or it wasn't, right. So I went to a female
Mm-hmm.
doctor. Went to the female doctor, and she immediately says, "You want surgery? You need surgery." And but because mine were so big and had pretty much taken over my entire uterus, at this point I had to have a hysterectomy. Thank goodness we had, decided no more children anyway, so that wasn't a factor at that point. But that's what happened to me. And so I say that to say they can, doctors don't tell you, or I don't know, that this can happen again. It can happen
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. Just because you have that first myomectomy or however you have, whether it's laparoscopy or whatever, them removed, they can come back. And I always say mine came back with a vengeance. They were bigger, badder the second time than they were the first time, and more painful, and just all of it. And so that was my ex- my total experience from beginning to end of, having them. And I was 35 when I had
Mm.
a hysterectomy. So I was 25 when I had the myomectomy. 10 years later, I had the hysterectomy. And so, it just, that was it.
Definitely, that's poignant that today we're getting better about that being a last resort option. I'm sorry, somebody's popping fireworks. Is everything okay?
I thought that was you.
No, that sounded like some fireworks outside. Sorry, y'all. But it's poignant now that we're getting better about hysterectomy being kind of the last
Last
resort,
resort. Yeah.
but it has taken a while to get there.
Yeah. Because that used to be the first resort, whether you needed it or not. That was the first recommendation, and which is so sad because there are a lot of women that didn't need them and that, desired families and were kind of robbed of that. So, yeah, thank God that we've come a long way. And, even with the types of surgery, every surgery doesn't, you don't have to have the invasive myomectomies, it just depends on, the size and where they are and everything. But there are
Mm-hmm.
options, which there weren't many uh, back when I first had
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of symptoms, let me put this graphic back on the screen. I had a lot of the same symptoms that you did. Um,
them.
Thankfully, my periods weren't necessarily super, super heavy or long, but I had the bleeding
Mhm,
between periods as well as the I had patchiness in my cycles.
mhm,
So what would
mhm,
happen instead of the bell curve that you normally get where it's like a little bit and then it gets heavy and then it's, or it's lighter during the day and heavier at night type deal? No. I would have like a heavy day off the bat, and then nothing. And then I might have a medium day, and then nothing for another day, and I think I'm done, and then another heavy day. It was the most
Yeah.
random thing ever toward the end.
Mm,
Then
yeah.
the abdominal discomfort and fullness. I won't say I've ever had a six pack, but I did have two tall cans at one time. Who is firing cannons outside my window?
Mm.
But that was something that was visible to my NP, feeling around in there and feeling the discomfort. But I started noticing at the area between my belly button and my pelvis, no matter how much weight I lost, no matter how much I worked out, that part of my stomach was always distended.
Hmm. That's another thing a lot of women say. It's like I got this belly, this distended, lower abdomen, and I can't get rid of it. And especially when it happened like toward my age, you'll start thinking, okay, well, it's just um that stubborn belly fat that you get at a certain age or what have you. But it's different, and the way
Mm-hmm.
it's different is usually it's lower on your body. And like I said, if they are pretty good size like mine were, you can, it's hard. If you
Mm-hmm.
just got extra belly fat, it's gonna be just that jiggly, it's gonna be, but this is different.
It was smooth.
Yeah, exactly. It's smooth. And so, you have to, knowing your body and then knowing what is normal and what's not normal. Just like
Mm-hmm.
you was talking about your cycle going in and out, in and out. I remember you were telling me that, and the first thing in my mind, I think I told you, I said, "There's a possibility you got fibroids because it can react like that." And so yeah, you didn't maybe necessarily had a heavy bleeding, but the breakthrough bleeding was a clear indication too that more than likely. And then you had those combination of symptoms. You had the belly, the abdominal. You had the pain. You had the breakthrough bleeding. You put it all together. I still don't understand why doctors
Mm-hmm.
are so slow to diagnose this because it's not rocket science, people. It's pretty common here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what also tipped my provider off toward the later stages, bladder symptoms, frequent urination and difficulty emptying. Toward the end, I was up and down every 20 minutes, not even getting a good night's sleep because I had to go all the time. And bowel movement issues are also a symptom. I don't remember having them because I feel like constipation just has always been a thing for me from day one.
Day one, I can tell y'all some stories, but I won't.
She won't embarrass me
I
today.
won't embarrass you today.
Today. But when my specialist, and we'll talk about her in a minute, saw them the last time on the ultrasound, she asked me if I was having issues because of the positioning of them and what she can see. And
Hmm.
I'll also mention here, not to be tawdry, painful intercourse. And I'm mentioning that because that's something that we typically would not talk about, and people should know that that's not normal.
That's not normal. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of different hints and a lot of different clues, and it did take so much self advocacy to get to that point. It's
Hmm.
frustrating when you have all these symptoms and you end up having to change doctors to get an answer,
Hmm.
or to push for it, or to suffer for
Hmm.
so long.
Hmm. Hmm.
to
Yeah,
actually get it diagnosed.
exactly, exactly. Because I think about the second time that I had them,
Hmm.
and it got to that point. I knew, you know,
Yeah,
it's it, and I'm like, I'm pushing for some surgery now because I'm like, yeah, but I had to push for it. That's my point, like you just said. I know, and you should know that I got a problem. I've got grapefruit size fibroids that
hmm,
are pretty visible where I can't put clothes on. You know, come on. Why do I have to beg you to do something?
yeah, yeah.
That's a problem.
And we were talking in our pre-production show yesterday about how we as women, and I want you guys to answer it. If have you ever been disbelieved or misdiagnosed by your doctor? Because we found that sometimes as women, we are told things that aren't normal are, having certain types of pain, the swelling, the extra bleeding. Oh, your period's just heavy. Oh, it's just cramps. You're going to have those type deal. We have a harder time getting people to believe
Mm-hmm.
that there's really an issue and that that it's not normal for us to suffer with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I already see a yes in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to work, it seems, 10 times harder
Mm-hmm.
and press 10 times more.
Yeah,
And we are almost programmed to second guess what we know is happening in our bodies.
it's
We're
true.
not
It's true.
making this up. I'm
It's
sitting
true.
here seeing the pile of pads.
It's true. It's true. And then I think about something. I think one of the viewers typing in. I found out. Wait a minute. Okay. Anyway, no. The apprehension sometimes of getting something done,
Yeah.
especially like I go back. You're young and you don't know what they are. You still desire children. You think this
Hmm.
may affect you having them, and so you do wait
Right.
and you wait and you prolong sometimes getting something done. Sometimes it's not that, not always, most of the time it is, but not always that the doctor is necessarily wrong, or so to speak, or hasn't diagnosed. Sometimes it's our own apprehension, but it kind of all works together, that fear, because it's unknown. You don't know what's going on. There's not enough communication or information going been given or what have you, and so you delay what really needs to be done. And a lot of times when you do that, that's when they just grow. Like
Yeah.
I would tell you all the time, these things aren't going to do anything but grow. They just
Mhm.
feed off of you. And so and then a lot of, if that happens and you did wait too long, sometimes then it is where hysterectomy is the only choice, because you waited too long and they got to a point where they couldn't save your uterus. So I say that to say,
Mm.
get your checkups and get your information, and we need to talk more. Even the myths and the misinformation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that what you just said, I can corroborate in the research that I was doing prior to this session, that part of the reason the statistics you have that 20 to 70% and they can't really put their finger on it is because not every case presents itself to be diagnosed. Of course, some women will have them and don't have any symptoms, which is fine. But you have people that do have them and do have symptoms, but aren't presenting to the healthcare system to actually be diagnosed.
True. Right.
Plus the misdiagnosis that we just talked about.
Mhm. You put all
How
that
can they
together.
know?
Yeah, that's right. So it's
Yep.
a, it's some of both.
So when you had your myomectomies, which kind did you have?
What do you mean?
Were they open? Were they laparoscopic? Were
Oh
they
no,
hysteroscopic?
that was open. That was open
Okay.
because if I can remember, and I'm pretty sure back then that lapros is that how you pronounce it,
Laparoscopic.
laparoscopy and other techniques, they have not come about yet. So
Hmm.
you were only able to get an open surgery. So yes, it was a full, open surgery, six week recovery, all of what you had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I don't know, and that was the other than having you as in a hospital. That was the first surgery that I'd had, and I remember, I think, yeah, mom came up because we were living in Ohio at that time, and helped out and everything. I didn't necessarily prepare, so to speak, for the surgery or anything like that. And I remember just being really sore afterwards, um, but able to get around and do. And I think I got up better because I was younger. And I think I was more, mobile sooner than I was the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's 10, like I said, the second time is 10 years later. And that's when I had the hysterectomy. And of course, hysterectomy is open surgery. So,
They can actually do that laparoscopically now.
see, that's what I'm talking about. Man, things have really, really changed. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So yeah, I'm cut twice. And there's different types of cuts. There's your bikini cut, and then there's the up and down. I had both. The bikini cut is a small one, well, I call it bikini because if it's below your navel. So if you ever wanted to wear a bikini, it wouldn't show, so to speak. The second one, of course, the hysterectomy was a vertical one because of the size and what had to be done. So, yeah,
Well, for what it's worth, medicine has come a
a
long
long
way.
ways it
They
has.
have the laparoscopic where they just do the small cuts and use the robotic instruments.
Hmm.
They can do the hysteroscopy through the vagina.
That's right.
Now, also, I didn't know I had the option outside of an ultrasound to get an MRI to be diagnosed, right?
Mm.
But they can actually do it while you're having an MRI. That's a relatively new technology, but there are some other options other than open.
Yeah,
Unfortunately for me, though, mine had to be open.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I mentioned the last time I went to the doctor, they did the ultrasound and they found those three, right? So they recommended me wonderfully to a reproductive endocrinologist that was located within a fertility practice because they knew that the person they were recommending me to initially, they call him the thyroid whisperer. I ended up seeing a different doctor and it worked out very, very, very well. But they knew it was somebody that could honor and navigate my desire and my husband's desire to conceive.
Hmm.
So, and they would work with us, as a family to try to make that happen and navigate that. So, anyway, I went and saw Dr. Van Herder and she did an ultrasound and drew some blood and all that good stuff. And she was looking at it and she was pointing out some different things and calcification where I had had some other fibroids that had lived and died in
Hmm.
there. Um, and what really blessed me about that consultation was her physically seeing with her eyes what was causing my issues. Like, yeah, I see why you're having to get up and pee all the time because I see the giant fibroid that is depressing your bladder, right? Or, asking, are you having problems with this? Are you having problems with that? Having somebody finally look and validate the symptoms that I was having as not being just in my head or nothing to worry about. Like, nobody wants to go to the doctor and be told you got 6 months to live. Anything
Right,
crazy
right, right.
like that. You don't want to hear the words or hear that you got to have surgery. But when you're having an issue and it's interfering with your day to day life, you want to answer. You don't want somebody telling you, don't worry about it, especially when it's not something that will go away. Like the fibroids, they might shrink, they might die, but they probably won't.
They probably won't. 9 times out of 10, they won't.
They probably won't. So you want somebody who is concerned about them as you are, um, and concerned about, your quality of life
Yeah.
like you are. So I saw the concern on her face. I didn't know exactly what was going on in there at the
Mm-hmm.
time, but she immediately told me that I needed to have the surgery and that it was going to have to be open. And I was good with that for a while. I didn't ask a whole lot of questions because something in me knew that that was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it wasn't until maybe the couple of days before, right after my post-op, my pre-op appointment, where I kind of got the jitters about it. Because the last time I underwent like general anesthesia was to have my wisdom teeth removed. And that was like 17 years ago. And so I was a little unnerved about the process of having major surgery for the first time and wondering, did it really have to be open? Can it be laparoscopic? Is there a different way that they could go about this? And she's already supposed to be doing the hysteroscopy. Can we do it that way?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
something, we know our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something said, no, it has to be open. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, went in for surgery. Thankfully, it was post COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, mom was able to be there with me, and my husband was able to be there with me as well, which made a huge difference. And I appreciate them being able to be in the room with me when Dr. Van Herden came and talked and reiterated my pre-surgery plan. She explained what was happening and what she was planning on doing, in front of them, because remember, I'm gonna be on the table for 3 or 4 hours and I can't advocate for myself, but they can do that for me. So I asked her point blank, where are they? And she said, because she's got her mask on, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
She told me they were everywhere. And at that point, I still didn't really know what everywhere meant.
It.
I just knew that it had to be done. And so when I woke up and was wheeled into the room and mom and Casper were waiting on me, Casper, before I could even be lucid for real, before I could really like shake off the anesthesia, he asked me, you want to know how many there were? Because I was curious and I said, yeah. There were 45 fibroids. 4, 5. That many. 45.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amazing.
it just kind of begs the question, to your point in your experience, mom,
Mm-hmm.
how did it get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
At what point did it
Mm-hmm.
get from, there's nothing really to worry about and
Mm-hmm.
we'll just wait and see,
Mm-hmm.
to 45?
45.
And they weren't all small. Like, I saw the pictures, and several of them, were that size of a plum type
Mm-hmm.
deal. And
Mm-hmm.
then the rest were progressively
Yes.
smaller.
So
But
it's
I,
like, how long
yeah,
were they there? But go ahead.
no, seriously. And I saw, the photos of what my uterus looked like before and after my surgery. And I I'm at a loss as to how I was walking around that way
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not having
Pain.
more pain.
Yeah, that's amazing and God. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So my when
Go
we
for it.
question,
Mhm.
we're talking about overcoming fibroids. How are you feeling now?
So far, I am feeling good. Again, it's 7 weeks post-op.
Yeah.
Right now, the only pain I really have, sometimes my incision gets sore, my belly swells a little bit at night, and I haven't yet had a cycle. So we'll see what's going on with that. But I have noticed that I can sleep through the night without having to get up and go to the bathroom. It's the simple things.
It's the
It's the
simple
simple.
things. It's the simple things. Yeah, I remember after the first one, just the belly going down,
Mhm.
the fullness, that feeling of fullness all the time, that going away. And then of course once your cycle starts again, it's normal.
Whatever that's supposed to be.
Whatever that's supposed to be. It ain't, just flowing like a river
Yeah,
on a daily basis. So, that was it, you feel literally lighter. You
yeah.
feel literally lighter.
Speaking of that, I'm down as of today like 18 pounds.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If it was, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose some weight because those things actually weigh. They actually weigh. And so you get the benefit of, a little weight loss. So, it's I'll say, if you've been diagnosed and you have them, look at all your options of getting something done, you know. If they're bothering you. Now they
Yeah.
will tell you if they aren't, if they're small, they aren't causing any problems, you know, um, you're not having any pain or whatever. And, as far as fertility wise, if they're not going to cause you future problems or, obstructing something or what have you, you may not have to do anything. I will say that. But if they are causing you problems and, go to the doctor. go, go, because you don't want it to get worse, and there's no need to needlessly suffer. And like Chaffron was talking about, all the different ways now that they have of removing them or shrinking
Mhm.
them, and just all types of things. Some you can be outpatient in out the same day. You know, it's a myriad of ways to get it done. But advocate, if you, like we keep saying, your body.
Yeah.
So if you know something and you feel something is wrong, go to the doctor. They not talking right, go to another one
Mhm.
until you are satisfied. And then, Fran, you made one more point. I'm gonna
Yeah,
finish.
go for it.
You said that your doctor were asking questions. That's good because a lot of times you
Mhm.
don't know what questions to ask. So her asking you certain questions made you, like, oh yeah, I do have that. Oh yeah, uh-huh.
Mhm.
That that makes a world of a difference because a lot of times they'll say, "You got any questions?" No, because I don't
I
know
don't do
anything
that.
to ask. I thought, but when she asked you, that was you that was wonderful. That's the kind of doctor you need.
Yes, definitely, because now that I think about it, you think about issues with bowel movements and constipation, the first thing you think is maybe I'm just not eating enough fiber or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't associate that with what else was going on, like in combination with the
Mm-hmm.
rest of my symptoms. Like low back pain is
Mm-hmm.
another one,
Mm-hmm.
but you probably think I'm sleeping bad,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm lifting too much, or I
Mm-hmm.
need to get a new office chair type deal if
Mm-hmm.
you have something like that going on.
That's true. You can't
So,
dismiss some of your symptoms as related to something else.
right. Right, right, right. So that's just the importance of having a good team of healthcare professionals, but also going back full circle, having these talks. Like y'all, my mom was the real MVP of this entire process from top to bottom. And I'll tell you why. When I got to the doctors, I had the presence of mind to ask about fibroids. I was not afraid when I got my diagnosis, and I wasn't afraid or surprised when I found out I would have to have major surgery because she had talked to me about this. We're having this sidebar session publicly, but we have sidebar sessions all the time. We were on the phone for an hour and 45 minutes yesterday. There's just the importance of, first of all, sharing experiences amongst family, whether it's your daughter or your niece or your grandchildren or your sisters. There's a lot of people that flat out do not know their family history of anything
It's true.
for a lot of reasons. And those are things, your doctor, you got to fill out all that paperwork about, has anybody had this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And some of what they're going to ask you or use to diagnose you is based on what they see on that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so mom having had these conversations with me about my reproductive health, but about hers, made that process a lot easier and a lot less scary. Then just going through the process, even of my surgery, she came and helped me while I was there, and it was a blessing to have at least one person in the house that could understand what was happening and understood what I needed, but also going back to pre-surgery and having my surgeon come talk, and the other health professionals, the nurses and stuff in and out of the room and whomever, it was a comfort knowing that she knew and could talk their language on that level. And could nobody get over on me when I was on drugs because because that she knew, and I could share openly with her. I could ask her, mama, is this normal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
So
yeah, I
mhm.
remember you having problems trying to, urinate after, and I'd already told you that was
Yeah.
going to happen. They were trying everything, and I was like, turn the shower on. Sure enough,
Yep.
but
Yep.
yeah, you do have to have somebody. But keep going back.
No, 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 for real. So I want to publicly thank you
Oh,
for that, but also just to encourage you guys, if you're watching and you have women in your family, to tell them whatever it is that's hereditary or genetic or family history. Hi, Marissa. Welcome.
hey, how
Yes.
are you?
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, have these conversations and share with them your experience, because you never know, somebody close to you might be suffering in silence because they don't know
Mm-hmm.
that you know what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know if any men are watching, but if you are a man and you have women in your life you love, don't shy away from these topics. Educate yourself about um Educate yourself about what goes on with women's plumbing. You
Yeah.
want to be involved with women's plumbing, then you need to know
Then you need to
how
know
it works.
how it works. So you can be supportive as
Yes.
well. Yeah. And when she's hurting or whatever, it's not just in her head, or
Mhm.
she can just push through it, or, or what have you. So
Yep. Yep. You're going to have a mama. You already have a mama, but you
I
might
already
have a
know.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yep. You might have a sister or an aunt, a wife, somebody that you need to be there for and can advocate for and stand beside um stand beside you going through that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. So
Yep. Yep.
awesome
So you asked me how I was doing after my surgery. How did you feel after your last hurrah?
sauce. Oh, now after the last hurrah, not to be honest, after the hysterectomy, of course, now recovery, as I said, was slower that time. It was more painful. It took, it was more difficult. Um, but again, mom was there again. Shout out to mom. She was there the first time. Same things, you know. But I had children. I had you, and your
Mhm.
dad was there too. But so I was still working full time. So of course, I had the 6 weeks and everything, but I had to get on up.
Yeah.
I had to get on up and do things. But as far as feeling well, I didn't have a period anymore. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. It's the best thing I could have ever done. I just got to tell you. You ask a lot of women that, if, if hysterectomy was something needed and they didn't want children anymore, or something like that. Yeah,
Yes.
if it was something that, the opposite and you had to have it, but you did desire children, that's not a hurrah, hurrah necessary.
Mm-mm.
But those that were complete and finished, and I don't have to see Mary Sue every month, slice bread. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. It's wonderful. So yes, I did quite well. I was very happy, very pleased.
No more oven cleaning cycle
No
every
more,
month.
no more self cleaning oven. Mm, 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 mm. Best
Ah,
thing, yeah. Now I will say, and I just talk briefly on hysterectomy.
yeah.
It threw me into menopause at an early age, and there comes some other things that go with that. There's a whole gamut, and we're gonna probably have a show on that. It's a whole gamut of symptoms and related issues that you're gonna have with menopause. So everything's just, I don't want to make it seem like it's just all gravy. It's another set of issues. And so yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, that was the side, and I'm still dealing with that. Now that's another thing. I always say, how long, Lord? How long? Because you go with the flashes and the weight gain that is associated with that, and the dry skin, and just what you just said about being real now, painful intercourse and dryness, and there are women
Yeah.
here, they're gonna talk. It's
Yeah.
it's a whole nother set of issues. So
Did you have everything out or did they leave a couple rags?
everything,
Okay.
I had a total.
Okay. So they okay.
That means they took the uterus, the cervix, and my ovaries.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because now, some people will do that and they'll keep their ovaries to try to heat some of that off.
Right, exactly, exactly. So
But we all got to go that way eventually. And speaking of that, you guys tell us down in the comments if you want us to do a menopause show. I want us to do a menopause show because we all got to go that way at some point.
yes, yes, yes.
Definitely. And you mentioned something in our talks about that being pretty scary because some people attach that to their womanhood.
Yes, yes. And when you were talking about the men being educated, you know, I don't know how, it is now, but back in the day, men put a stigma to that with women. If they, a woman had a hysterectomy, all of a sudden she's not a woman anymore. And, something's wrong or what have you. And I'm like, really? Really? So just men need to be educated and informed. And then women need to realize that that's not that that's not attached to who you are as a woman.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
It's just one part of your body. That's all. But you still the woman God made you to be. And don't be fearful of that or shameful of that or what have you. And like I said, I do want to be sensitive to those that really truly do desire to have families, and this is something that they actually have to get done. And I would assume that that's a whole thing that you got to
Yeah.
get to and reconcile with and get in your mind if that's best for your body, that God will give you children some other sort of way, or what have you. So, but yeah, we have one person says what do it,
You
and
got
two people
several people saying do it.
do it. Okay, all right.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. Okay.
Right. Speaking of that, I do want to touch on something that you've experienced and not me. Did you have issue? Throw the whole mama away. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, oh, this right here or this.
Throw mama from the train.
But go ahead.
Um, fertility. Did you have any issues conceiving?
No, I didn't. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's another thing. A lot of times, people are concerned about, after the first myomectomy, or even before, I didn't have any, to have you. But after the surgery, that is a concern sometimes that you will have problems. But I did not, none at all. So don't be afraid of that. I'm not saying that, everybody's case is like that, but don't be afraid of that. It's very possible to conceive after a surgery, after the a myomectomy.
That was a concern of mine. I knew that they might possibly cause me issues. I have no idea. Hadn't tried it. But um on the flip side of that, having that surgery and some of the potential for scar tissue and different things like that. Mhm.
I'm glad you mentioned scar tissue. Now I have that, and I can feel that.
Hmm.
That's from the first one on up to now. There's certain, if I move a certain way or something, especially when I'm doing exercises or whatever, I can. It's it's like a catch. And
Huh.
I know the last time I went, for physical, and they said, yeah, you have quite a bit of scar tissue, and I'm like, yeah, because I've had a couple of surgeries here. So that's um, what is it want to say? Not a ramification or whatever, but that's kind of residual as well that could be possible to happen to you, to have scar tissue and to actually, feel it.
And that's something I've really thought about myself just for the amount of cutting. If anybody is just now joining, mom had one the size of a grapefruit and then had another one again the same size.
It was bigger.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Two really big ones in her experience. I just had my surgery and they got 45 from me. So I was concerned, with the amount of cutting, whether I would have scar tissue or not. My doctor did do a couple things for me. She did put me on hormone pills afterwards, some estrogen and some progesterone, but she also left a Foley catheter balloon. Oh, that doggone balloon. Oh, that balloon. Anyway, an inflated catheter in me for 2 weeks after my surgery to kind of heat some of that off.
Yeah.
So prayerfully, when I go for my follow up and have my saline ultrasound, we won't see that, but
Yeah.
it's a concern.
Well, I will say, saying that though, um, I would say it's more of a concern if you don't get something done as
Mm,
far as removal of fibroids or what have you for fertility, because it can obstruct you or keep you from conceiving if you have them and depending on where they are and how many they are. So the thing that you are afraid of is the very thing that could possibly keep you from conceiving if you desire.
yeah, yeah. But I definitely wanted to talk to you about that because there's somebody out there that needs to hear that it's possible.
Oh, very possible. Very
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I kind of active on Reddit in a fibroid group if anybody is interested in that. But one of the top concerns, if I have a myomectomy, if they do anything in there, is it going to affect my chances for fertility? Will my fibroids affect my chances for fertility? Myself and my brother are proof that it is
It
possible.
is possible.
So
Yep.
it is very much possible. So yeah, that's pretty much our experience with that. Mom, did you have any other thoughts on the topic?
No, I had written a couple of questions down and I answered the one, I mean, asked the ones that I wanted to ask. But yeah, this has been great. And like I said, such a relevant topic. So many women are affected by them. And I think, we need to talk more about it.
Mhm.
And like you said, stress enough that, talk to your nieces, nephews, granddaughters, daughters, you know, whoever. And especially if you've already gone through it,
Right.
then I feel you kind of have, you need to, because it's nothing like, what is that word? I can sympathize, but empathy is a different story because I've walked in your
Mhm.
shoes. And so, you know, yeah, talk about it.
I had the thought come to me related to that. First of all, your experience is usually not just for you. To
That's
your point, if we've gone through something and we've gotten to the other side of it, chances are it's not just it's for our edification, but it can also help somebody else too. It can prevent
right.
somebody's hardship, it can help them through it. So,
Mhm.
just going back to the theme of creating awareness and being open and having these conversations and creating the safe place to talk about stuff like this, even if it's just amongst ourselves. It shouldn't be,
Mhm.
I understand sometimes being taboo, talking to guys about different stuff like this because they're squeamish. But um amongst each other, again, there's no reason why something we experience 12 months out of the year, 5, 6, 7 days or more a month for 30 or 40 years should be something that we're uncomfortable talking to each other
Other
about.
about. Now that's the truth. That's the
Got a
truth.
comment
I mean,
here. Go ahead, Mom.
no, I'm saying you're right. I mean, if you're a female, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. You're going to have a cycle, and like you say, for years and years and years, and there's so much that can go on during that time. Our bodies are just so intricate, and we should be able to talk to one another about it.
Absolutely. Marissa says hearing other stories helps you not feel alone.
So true. So true. You're never alone. There's always someone else that is going through or has gone through or will go through what you're experiencing. And so, yeah, it's good.
And I'll also add one more thing. Just because something is common does not mean that it's normal. And everything that is normal is not acceptable.
So true. So true.
Over 26 million women are suffering from fibroids, as an example. It's
Mm,
common, but it is
mm-hmm.
an abnormality. And if you're having issues, symptoms, it's interfering with your life, please know that you don't have to accept that.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. You're right. That that's a good point.
Yep.
You can normalize something that's abnormal.
Yep.
That's true.
And just decide I'm going to live with it. You don't have to do that.
I'm gonna live with it, but you don't have to. That's
Just
right.
in case you didn't know, you're hearing it from the gems today.
That's right.
Well, all right, Gems and Jules, we have really, really enjoyed chatting with each other and chatting with you all. Thank you all for
You.
all the insightful
Yes.
comments. Our
Yes.
where is it? Our crown jewel, Grandma. I'm sure this has been such a blessing to those who are watching. We hope so. We really, really
Yeah,
hope
we
so.
do.
If you are late or joined us in progress, y'all go back and watch from the top.
Yeah.
You can catch the replay on the Sweet Tea Gems YouTube channel, and also Breaking Development. If you haven't seen our post this year, we have posted we have started posting our episodes as podcasts. You can now get our session tonight, as well as some bonus content, some podcast exclusive episodes, wherever you get your favorite listening material. We're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on YouTube Podcasts. We were on Anchor, but Anchor just merged with Spotify. So that list is growing. You can go back and listen to your tunes on your way to and from work, wherever you do. But this, you can go back and catch us on Facebook or on YouTube for the full video. And feel free to keep this conversation going. If you have questions, if you have comments, some experiences that you want to share, y'all drop down in the comments. Feel free to shoot us an email. Let me put this on the screen right quick. At let's talk at sweetteagems.com. You can also send us show ideas. We already determined we're going to be doing a menopause show, so y'all don't want to miss that. But if you have other topics that you want to come and discuss with us, come sit on our porch and drink a little tea, you can do that. You can also, if you want to be a guest on our show, if you got something you want to come share with the world, talk to us, and we might be able to put something together. You never know. So that's that on that. Follow us here on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Sweet Tea Gems on all social media right now. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely do that. More announcements. Yes. Also, if you missed it, the 3D devotional is still available. So, you guys,
Yes.
mom and I worked tirelessly at the end of, was it the end of last year?
End of last year.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
time is flying.
Oh, I know.
On a devotional, a 3-day devotional to help you realize your God given dreams. And we walk you through not just the process of discovering your dreams, but helping us face the realities that come with a dream denied and a dream deferred, and some of the mountains and the obstacles that we all go through on our way to really getting into our purpose. So let's see. Down in the comments, I just dropped a link. If you haven't gotten it, it is absolutely free. The devotional is, and you can download that today. So, any other announcements, Mom?
Um, mm, no, that was the one that I was going to talk about, but you got it on the head.
Okay.
Just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and please share this
Yes.
video, and with any woman that you love and care about. And also, if you go on our page and any of those social media sites or whatever, look at some of our past videos. They
Yes.
are very good. I have to say myself. They, you know, not just because of the gems, but the content is very good. So on a range of topics. So do that and let us, thank you for encouraging us and continue to let us know, if we're being a blessing to you, because you all are being a blessing to us.
Absolutely. And shameless plug, if I might.
Oh, yes, please.
So you guys know that I have my own website, my own blog and YouTube channel, Mac the Maverick. And I am actually chronicling my journey through this process over on my channel. I got into a little bit more detail on how I was diagnosed with fibroids and what led up to it. And I'll also be doing a couple of more videos and blog entries detailing my surgery, as well as detailing my recovery and offering some tips for that. And I'm also producing a recovery journal and planner for anybody that's going through any type of procedure. So you guys check out Mac the Maverick. I'm here on Facebook as well as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And yeah, yeah, good things abound over here and over there.
Yep. Do that. MacTheMaverick.com.
Yes, yes. So last but not least, we like to close our broadcast here with an anchor verse. We love the word here on Sweet Tea Gems, those
Yes,
pearls
we
of
do.
wisdom that the Lord left us. So,
Exactly.
Mom, do you mind doing the honors on that? Mark
Sure. Which,
5 and 34.
hold on. I wasn't ready, but I can be ready. Hold on.
I caught her off guard. I'm sorry, y'all.
Sure did. I tell you, Miss Planner. But what does the word say? Be ye ever ready?
Right. Be ye ever ready.
Be ready.
Let me see. I'm going to add a caption. V.
Okay. Mark 5:34. Daughter,
Mhm.
your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Mm.
So that is the word for the day. I want to encourage everybody once again, if you're having an issue, whatever your issue may be, have faith. Have faith. Your faith will make you well. Go in peace and be healed. And we're praying that for you today.
Yes, yes. Amen.
Amen. So, yeah, with that being said, we thank you all for joining
Thank you.
this episode of sidebar session. We so appreciate everybody that has tuned in across the time that we've been on. Again, go back and replay, share this everywhere because we want to be a blessing to many more people, and we are blessed by you all just coming and chatting with us.
Super, super blessed and excited.
Yep. So until next time, you guys be well and shine, and we'll see you all for the next one.
Next one. Bye bye.